Assignment Wilmington, January 31st, 1947. And our subject tonight is the Health and Welfare Center at Fort DuPont. Yesterday was an historic day in the history of Delaware. Yesterday, Fort DuPont, near Delaware City, was turned over to the state of Delaware, and so definitely ended the military career, you might say, of a federal reservation that was an armed camp for almost a century. Let us tell you briefly about Fort DuPont, located at the junction of the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal and the Delaware River. Fort DuPont was designed to be one of the bastions guarding the Delaware River Valley. Back in the Civil War days, it was merely a battery of artillery guns, augmenting grim old Fort Delaware. Later, it became a full-fledged army post. During the Spanish-American War, there was a great deal of activity in enlarging the fort, because, who could tell, it just might be that the Spanish fleet would go steaming up the Delaware. It was really a place of importance in World War I, and even more important in World War II. During the recent war, it housed several thousand German prisoners. It was also once the headquarters of famous fighting divisions that later made names for themselves in the conquest of Europe. And then on December 31st, 1945, it was retired. On that last day of the year, the American flag was hauled down in the presence of its commanding officer, Colonel Rulin, and the fort passed out of military history. But it was not destined for a life of retirement. About the day after the announcement that Fort DuPont was to be retired, Francis V. DuPont called Dr. M.A. Tarumianz, who is superintendent of the Delaware State Hospital, and Mr. DuPont said, "Dr. T, for years you've been dreaming of a welfare center, a center where children could get a break, where alcoholics could be cared for. Here is your chance." This was by no means a selfish dream. It was the dream of a man in a responsible state position who came across cases of children and adults without psychoses who really needed help. And so Dr. Tarumianz went to Governor Walter W. Bacon to discuss this plan of Delaware taking over Fort DuPont. Not for military purposes, but for the good of humanity. Governor Bacon, in his foresight, grasped at once the significance of it all, and then began the arduous task of studies and surveys and negotiations with the federal government. And yesterday, the state of Delaware received the deed to the reservation. Today we interviewed Dr. Tarumianz by use of wire recorder. And now, Dr. Tarumianz will first read the statement he made at the presentation ceremony yesterday. Dr. Tarumianz.
Governor Bacon, ladies and gentlemen, today the transfer of the Fort DuPont reservation to the state of Delaware is a reality. The people of the state of Delaware are very fortunate to have acquired, through the efforts of Governor Walter W. Bacon, the Fort DuPont reservation with its almost ready-made facilities to accommodate within 9 to 12 months 646 children, adults, and aged who are in need of adequate care and treatment for their disabilities. The deed for the Fort DuPont reservation is transferred to the state of Delaware with a definite provision that the property will provide for a period of 25 years care and treatment for emotionally handicapped children, crippled children, children awaiting assignment to foster homes, children awaiting trial in the family court, alcoholics without psychosis, epileptics without psychosis, bedridden senile cases, an emergency hospital unit, and any other related welfare problems, and that the veterans of both wars and their families will have priority to the service rendered by the center. It will be necessary for the General Assembly to pass bills for accepting the Fort DuPont reservation and turning over the same to the State Board of Trustees of Delaware State Hospital, and authorizing them to establish the Delaware State Health and Welfare Center with the various departments incorporated in agreement with the federal government. It will also be imperative for the General Assembly to appropriate the necessary funds for the repairs, remodeling, and furnishing of some 65 buildings at the center, and for the maintenance and care of those children and adults who will be admitted to the center. The center will be divided into 12 sections. Section 1 will take care of 128 children who are either mildly or severely maladjusted or psychotic. There will also be cottages for children awaiting assignment to foster homes, which will be known as study homes. There possibly will be special cottages for children awaiting trial in a family and juvenile courts. Section 2 will incorporate buildings for nurses and employees. Section 3 will have recreational facilities, including vocational, occupational, and rehabilitational shops. Section 4, residences for physicians. Section 5 will be utilized for 100 men and women alcoholics without psychosis. Section 6, the first floor of this large permanent fireproof building will be utilized for 85 crippled children, male and female, and the second floor will be utilized for 120 male and female bedridden aged patients. Section 7 will be utilized as a medical center, which will include various laboratories, operating and orthopedic rooms, X-ray and physiotherapy division, as well as research department. Section 8 will be utilized for 100 male and female epileptics without psychosis, including children. Under Section 9, there will be 9 buildings which will be utilized for children and adults of the colored race, giving them the same opportunities and type of care and treatment. Under Section 10, we have various buildings which will be used for the utility department. Under Section 11, we'll maintain a special emergency hospital unit to accommodate 250 patients and 150 employees in case of a national or state disaster. Under Section 12, Administration Department. In addition to these 12 sections, we have purchased a chapel building which will be utilized for non-sectarian services by the chaplains of the center. In addition to this, the center will have various fields for sports, parks, vegetable and flower gardens. The center has 320 acres of land and has an excellent outlet to Delaware River with an already existing pier. I am hoping that one of my rich friends will offer a nice-sized boat to be used for excursions for children and adults of the center. To remodel and furnish the center for the purpose just described will require a minimum sum of $1 million. I am hoping that the members of the General Assembly will consider this project one of the most useful and unique in its scope of service. I beg the members of General Assembly to approve the bills which will be presented for their consideration unanimously. May I take this opportunity and express my personal gratitude to Governor Bacon for his sincere interest in this project. May I also take this opportunity to express our thanks to the members of the Federal Works Agency in Washington, particularly Mr. Church and his associates, and the members of the Philadelphia branch office, Mr. Castella, Mr. Swisher, and Mr. Lavelle. They all have cooperated and helped us to achieve this successful end result. January 30th, 1947 will be considered a historical day for the state of Delaware.
Dr. Tarumianz, if the General Assembly immediately approves the appropriation of funds for the Health and Welfare Center of the state of Delaware, how soon do you expect you would be able to begin to take care of people there at the center?
I believe we will be able to open at least some of the sections within next 6 to 7 months. By January 1st, 1948, the center will be ready to assume its responsibilities in regard to all services.
And what do you suppose will be the year's operating expenses for the Health and Welfare Center?
In my humble judgment, it will require from $400,000 to $450,000 per annum to take care of people who will be accepted in the center. However, it is our opinion that the center will not be considered as a charity place altogether. People of means will send their children as well as adults for care and treatment. And it is my opinion that every family who has a case at the center will be only too glad to pay either part of the cost or the full cost of the care. Therefore, the state will assume the responsibility of $250,000 to $300,000 per annum for the care and maintenance of patients at the center.
And what do you anticipate will be the size of the staff in connection with the center?
It is my opinion that we will need at least 220 to 250 officers and employees, including doctors, nurses, graduate nurses, attendants, various business managers and mechanics, and utility men and women. However, the largest part of the staff, if I may say, will be housed outside of the center. They will be commuting from various localities such as Delaware City, Newcastle, St. George's, Fort Penn, and other neighboring cities and towns.
Do you think it will be difficult to get a staff for the center, Doctor?
No, I don't. I believe by the time we open the center, we'll be able to have adequate staff.
Is Delaware unique in this particular plan for a state welfare center?
Yes, as a state proposition is unique. I believe that Michigan at this time is very much interested to open the same type of service. I believe when this center is open, it will be a model state organization, and many states will come and investigate and inspect the organization and possibly duplicate the same in their own state.
Will the functions of the Delaware Health and Welfare Center overlap the functions of any other existing state agencies or county or local agencies?
Not at all. I believe that the center will be rather a help and assistance. It will augment all the services rendered by various public institutions, agencies, as well as private agencies. For instance, at the present time, epileptics are taken care of at Delaware Colony, Stockley, Delaware. Primarily, Stockley is an institution for feeble-minded. It is true that they have assumed the responsibility of epileptics for the past 20 years. However, it's not fair to send epileptic children to a feeble-minded school. They require a very specific and specially trained adequate care and treatment and approach, which cannot be obtained anywhere else except in a hospital.
Dr. Tarumianz, how may people be referred to the health center? That is, children or epileptics or alcoholics or others you have mentioned. Is there any special way that they will have to be admitted through other agencies, or can they get there by their own accord or through their families, or just what will be the arrangement?
The adults will be referred to the center either by the family physicians or by themselves on voluntary basis. As to children, some children will be sent there by their physician or by their parents. Some will be sent by various agencies. Certainly there will be a ruling after the center has been established.